What's going on, everybody? It's Brandon here. Just doing a quick rundown. Sorry I sound nasally, I'm getting over a cold, but this is a stabilizer mount I made for my GoPro. I did a bunch of research on them since I got my GoPro, and I took a couple people's ideas, specifically a YouTube user by the name of God's Country. I kind of followed his template for it. Just so, quick rundown, it's not really a walkthrough. First off, I bought all my supplies from Home Depot. The Traxxas half shaft U-joints right here I bought from my local RC store is about $6. Pretty much the project cost just about $25. And then the bearings that I use for inside the handle are just from my local skate shop. So this is aluminum. It's 1 1/4 inch wide by 1/8 of an inch thick, and they come in 3-foot sections. Pretty much I measured it. I used, like I said, YouTube user God's Country. I used his dimension recommendations. So the first from here to here, it's about 4 3/4 of an inch, and then from where the bend starts all the way back, it's about 15 inches. The tricky part and the thing to do is to try to line up both of your ends. You can kind of see that aluminum is pretty easy to bend, and it's pretty easy to cut too. I just used a saw with a metal blade on it to cut it. You could probably use a hand saw if you needed to. Pretty much then drill your holes. This first hole is about the first hole is a 1/4 inch thick hole with a 1/4 inch drill bit, and it's about 1/2 inch from, probably might be easier to see from here, 1/2 inch from the back, and that's going to be your first bolt for your weights. These are just fender washers, that's all these are. Second hole is about 1 1/4 inch from the first hole, and that's going to be where your tripod mount goes, and it'll go right there. And then your third hole on top will be about 2 inches from your tripod mount, and that's where your this is going to be the only 5/16 inch hole, which is for a 5/16 inch bolt that goes inside your half shaft Traxxas. All the supplies and part numbers will be listed in the description below. So that way it's easier to buy. So then from the first hole down here, I want to say it was about 8 inches. I could be incorrect. It might be 8 inches from the bottom hole here. Drilled another 1/4 inch thick hole, and that's for the second set of washers. And the last hole on the bottom is about 1 inch in. Like, that's up to you. You know, you can always mess around with the dimensions and where you want to mount everything. The amount of washers that I use, I'm still trying to, the most time consuming thing I think is figuring out the weight and balance of it. That way it doesn't rock too much or sway too much. Once I put the weight of my GoPro on top, it tends to kind of sit back a little bit. So I'm still fiddling around with the weights to kind of see how they're going to go. The bolts that hold the weights are 1/4 inch bolts, 20 type thread, so it's a very fine thread. Doesn't make a difference as long as you get a nut that matches. I opted to use these Wingnuts right here. I figured it'd be easier to change them out while I'm on the go. I don't have to carry any tools with me. They just tighten and loosen pretty easily. This bolt is, again, these ones are about 1 1/4 inch length. And that way you have a lot of room for if you need to add a bunch of washers. This bolt right here is I think 1 inch in length, and it is where the tripod mount goes. So that's set in place with a washer and a nut, and then the tripod mount goes on top. The 5/16 inch bolt just goes through, and the way it mounts is I have them right here. There's actually a little metal ball, I don't know where it's at. These mount together like this. There's actually a metal ball that goes in between there, and you can see that it's not threaded for a 5/16 bolt, but it does go in there and it makes it nice and snug and secure. And this part is going to go inside the handle. The handle now is made out of a 3/4 inch PVC pipe. You can kind of see it. I chose to put a bicycle grip on it, like most people, just kind of adds for comfort and style. So this is a 3/4 inch PVC pipe. I had to use my Dremel and grind out the inside a little bit. That way I could get the bearing to fit inside. Now this piece is going to connect to your frame. This piece will connect to the bottom like I mentioned, and then this piece is going to have to go inside your bearing. if you choose to use a bearing. As you can tell, it's too big, so I had to use my Dremel and cut this down a little bit, and that way it sits nice and snug. And then the way that I mounted the bearings, I put one bearing on, I put a oversized nut just to act as a spacer, and then I put this on, and that way it spaced them evenly. And once they're on there, it fit nice and snug inside the handle. It's not glued, it's not taped, it's just they fit nice and snug, and you can see that it's not going anywhere. So that's how the handle's made. Pretty easy to do. Like I said, it cost me just about $25 to make, and I'm still debating on what color to paint it and messing around with the weight.